why you're not a threat to the enemy. He's staking claim over your life through the spirit of unforgiveness.
We have food idols, and you're obsessive with foods. You don't even know why. It's called an idol.
God is getting his people ready to acquire.
God is looking to interrupt our lives.
A man without a woman to move the ministry of God forward is utterly impossible.
There is a hunger and a demand and a thirst for the real, authentic presence of God that's not tainted by your personality.
The very fact that you're living and breathing right now is sheer proof that you have a purpose on your life.
We always nosy in the spirit, meaning we want to hear what God is saying. What you saying, God? I want all of what you. I need you, Lord.
Nobody can stop what God is doing. So it's like, get on board or just move all the way over to the side. I don't have the spirit of God. It's a waste for me to even be here. It's a waste for Datavia and I to talk, because the only thing that saved us, our common denominator, is Jesus. That's what revival is all about. Be filled so that you can fulfill your God-given purpose. Hey, friends. We're back with a Girl Talk Part 2, and we're super excited for this. Thank you to everyone who joined us last week for Girl Talk, where we talked about sisterhood and friendship. And oh my God, that episode was just, that was very much needed. Very much needed. And I learned so much from the ladies on that night. And I just know I'm gonna learn from them again tonight. So I'm super excited for Part 2. On this one, we're going to talk about dating, and we're even going to add a little fashion in there, because the girls we have on tonight, they're all into fashion. They're both very much fashionistas to me. So I'm going to let Alice take it away.
Hey y'all, welcome. I am so excited about what God is going to do tonight. I know this show is going to be fun. Y'all, last week we had a blast. It was honest, it was open, it was transparent. And I know tonight they're going to do the exact same thing. And so if you haven't, you better call your girlfriend up right now and tell her, child, you need to watch this with me. Tag her in those comments, because this is not a show you want to miss.
Okay.
This is going to be a powerful show. Y'all know when we start talking about dating, we're giving you the real tea.
The real tea.
This is not something we got from anybody else. This is our experiences. And so I'm excited about tonight. I know that it's going to help me. I'm still over here 1, 2, 3. And so I can't wait to see the nuggets that are going to be dropped tonight. And so let's get started, Tay. We don't want to hold them up too long.
Thanks. So make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, and share this video. But we're going to bring our amazing guests on. They joined us last week, and they're here again. Let's go.
Hey.
Hey, y'all. Hey, beautifuls. Y'all are all so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, they look so good.
Well,
y'all, we got Morgan Mays in the building and Karicia Hill. All right.
Hey.
So like I said, we're talking about dating and fashion today. So let's get into these questions, because this is what we're here for.
Let's do it.
Question number 1, a little juicy, okay? So if you're comfortable, can you tell us your dating status and what that looks like for you?
Okay, so for me, so there are different variations of single. That I've come to find out, right? So there's single dating, there's single content, there's single satisfied, there's single seeking, there's single divorce, single parent, single widow. There's so many different variations of single. And so for me, I would say I'm single satisfied and single seeking. I'm not single dating because I'm not in a relationship and I'm not dating anyone right now. So seeking to me means that I'm open to it. I'm very much open that if somebody comes my way and if somebody is open enough to ask she out, she will go. So very much open to it. But I'm also very single and satisfied, meaning I'm single and happy. Like I'm very joyous in my singleness. I'm very content with who I am. I'm very joyous on going out on singles, dating myself. Like I take myself out as much as possible. Like self is an amazing date. And so I'm very much satisfied in that. So I am very single seeking and single satisfied.
Okay. Okay.
For me, I am not dating right now. I would say I'm in a season of single, satisfied. So with talking with Karicia, I've learned so many variations of singleness. And so where I am single, satisfied. I am in a place where I am completely devoted to my relationship with God and going deeper with God. And I think that in my walk, as I become deeper in relationship with God, that I will begin to be able to see different things in dating. I'll be able to discern more in my dating. So I'm in a place where I want to be able to have eyes to see so I can discern better when I go into a new relationship.
That's good. That's excellent. I think we all should, pray for that, baby. God, take over my eyes. So when I see, I know it's right.
Yeah.
I don't want to get it wrong. So I am also single. I'm single satisfied. I don't know if I'm single seeking yet. I ain't putting myself out there, so I guess I'm not seeking. But but I am definitely single satisfied. Like Morgan said, this season for me has just been about me and God, learning God more, and especially learning myself. I mean, I've spent years not really knowing, like, I know what I like and what I look for in a guy, but it's like, what do you expect to be? Like, what kind of wife do you expect to be? So in that, I've just been learning, like, exactly what kind of wife do I expect to be? Because I mean, I'm like, I know I want my husband to do this and do that. So it's like, but what do I want to be?
Yeah.
What are my expectations for me as a wife, me going into marriage? So I really just been learning about me, even like mental health, physical health. Like, God really just got me in this single season, just learning, learning my triggers. So when I do, eventually get in a relationship and I get married, I can identify triggers and, attack them head on. So they're not coming in and disrupting anything. So
Yeah.
single satisfied. I love God. That's my man for sure, for real. But
My man. Jesus.
I mean, I really love him. So that's it.
I'm gonna say I am single embracing. I know that wasn't one of the categories.
That's a good one.
I am embracing who God has for me, what He has for me, and just in a place where I am enjoying what God is doing. So that's gonna be mine. Single embracing.
I love it. I love that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's important, and I think I love like everyone's single status in regards to taking yourself out on dates, making sure that you're healing, making sure that you are the person you want to be before you bring somebody else in. And so I'm hoping as you guys listen to us that it allows you to kind of think about your own lives. And so I want you guys to take a chance and think about, what are you, single and what? Are you single and happy? Are you single and satisfied? Are you single and lonely? Like, because some people be single and lonely, and we gotta talk about that tonight.
Yeah.
But really just sit and take a reflective moment where you think about, like, what are you? And so I'm gonna go on to the next question, if that's okay. What practices are you using to help you maintain, I'm gonna say, abstinence, because I kind of don't like the word celibacy, and I'm gonna tell you why real quick. So one day I was in prayer and the Lord was like, stop using the word celibacy because it means that you will abstain from sex and never get married. That's like Webster definition. So I don't use that word. I say abstinence. But if you do use celibacy, what are your practices what practices are you using to help you maintain celibacy or your virginity? Because some saints haven't given it up yet. So
that's correct.
Amen.
Amen. I'm not bowed, okay? So that is the question for y'all ladies. I don't know who wants to go first.
I'll go first because I am a virgin. I am saving myself for marriage.
But I love that for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. But practices. I mean, in the beginning, it was just like a burden, you know, like, oh my God, when is it going to be my time? When am I going to get married so that I could experience that, you know, dating people just so I can eventually get to that part, you know, to, you know, satisfied, to have sex, to pleasure, blah, blah, blah. So in the beginning, it was just like a burden, like, okay, when is it going to happen for me? But now, as I'm just getting older, it's just like I have embraced it. I love it. You know, I've helped so many, even younger people under me. Like, it is possible and you can do it. So I would say my practice is just really praying and relying on God, because
Yeah.
it can be trying, and I got over that whole stage where, oh my God, I'm lonely. So I would say pray so that your mind is steadfast on God. Because if you're in God and you know what the end goal is and you know what God promised you, like, be content and saying, okay, God, I'm going to wait because I know what you promised me. I know what the end goals look like because you said it. So
Yeah.
my practice would be to just pray and fast, because that fasting part is you dying to your flesh daily, and you have to back it up with prayer. Back it up with prayer, like, for real, like, pray and fast, because again, you're dying to your flesh daily. You're gonna overcome the temptation, the urges, if you're praying and fasting, because again, you know what the end goal is, you know what God promised you. So be content in that. Thrive in singleness and being abstinent and maintaining your virginity, because you're rooted in God.
Now, let me back this up though. So, what about them ones that some of us that have already tasted and seen? Okay, so I'm going to say that for me, and I'll say I do use the word celibate, because for me, abstinence is very much I'm abstaining, and I'm not saying that I had a vow towards God. I'm abstaining because it's just not maybe available, or it's just not, I haven't put forth the effort. But celibacy for me is a vow that I've made to God. It is very much available, but I'm still choosing not to do so. It's very much there, and I can, call whomever and do whatever, but that's not where I'm at in life. I'm celibate because I've talked to God, and this is where we are. So I've been celibate for 3.5 years. And I feel like that's a huge milestone. And I wouldn't say for me, because it's not like I was just out here in the streets, but in my last relationship, I knew that I wasn't doing, what I was supposed to be doing. However, when I did make that decision to be celibate, the way that I've stayed that way, even outside of my relationship, is boundaries. Very much boundaries. So even in dating, I have dated since I've been out of my relationship. And so you're not coming to my house 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. We're not sitting up watching movies. I'm not laying up cooking for you. Date night is not going to be at my house. Date night will not just be at my house and we just chilling. No, we're going to get out. Let's get out in the city. Let's go see, what's out there. I'm not coming to your house and just chilling either. I'm not coming so we can lay with your dog on the couch and you put your feet up. Like, that's not dating for me. I've been there, done that. And for me, if I want to see different, I have to do different. And so it's also being very much intentional about those boundaries and holding to them, and also being very honest. I am very honest in the beginning with any man. Like, if I meet you, I'm not waiting 10 dates to tell you that you're not, this ain't happening for us. Like, I'm telling you very early on. And I feel like if you're going to stay, then God will reveal that to me. And that will be revealed very early on anyways. Listen, some men stay and some men don't. And that's your choice. And that's very much okay with me. But it's very much the fasting and praying too, because just because I haven't did it in so long, don't mean that I forgot what that life was, right? So just like Tay said, the fasting and the praying and the accountability, because there are some nights where I'm like, sis, I need you to pray with me, like, absolutely right now. Okay. And that's just being honest. Like, we talking to our good girlfriends. We've all had those moments. And I wouldn't say we all, but I've had those moments of falling, almost into sin. And my flesh is like, okay, Karicia, this is what you want. And then God is like, but you know what the promise is that I have for you while you're keeping that promise to yourself. And so it's very much I'm having a serious accountability partner to where that partner is telling me about myself and also reminding me of those promises that God has for my life and reminding me what the Bible says and reminding me what the word says, because I don't need you to just give me what the world says. I need what the word says. So I need a very much Christian sister that's going to remind me. And that's where those kingdom relationships come in at.
Yeah.
Facts.
Good. That's good. So for me, I have not always been abstinent and I have not always practiced it. But I realized for myself that I wasn't healed from my relationships with men in general, relationships that I've had, and what I grew up seeing. I grew up in a family that when things, I grew up where the standard of a marriage or what marriage looked like wasn't what I was aiming to do. And so I grew in a place where I was like, I don't want it. If this is what it looks like, I don't want it. And I'm okay with, we being friends and we being in a relationship and then we never get married and we staying in this place. And so I had to heal from that place because I was living I was actually operating in a place of brokenness. Yeah. And what God began to reveal to me in my heart is that the reason you're in this place is because you are afraid that if you don't do these things, that people will leave you. That if you don't give all of yourself, that men will not desire you. My biggest thing, and I think in that point in my life, is I just wanted to be seen. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be cared for. And what God showed me is that you doing all this and they ain't staying no way. They ain't for you no way. They not here anyway. And so you're searching for something that is supposed to be within me. It's supposed to be something that I need you to feel with me, the intimacy with me. And you're desiring this from a person because of you're desiring this from a person because you're living out of a broken place. So for me, the biggest thing in my place, or the biggest thing in my walk with God, as I've walked in abstinence, or as I continue to walk in abstinence, is realizing that God fulfills me, and that the love that I desire and the feeling and the contentment and the things that I need comes from God. And that it happens through prayer. That happens through fasting. That happens through those intimate moments. And I think that for me also, that I had to make a decision that I'm always going to choose God. Because I think that when we put it into the place of always sin and this, it's like, okay, you're so busy looking at the sin and the symptoms, you're not looking at your heart. You're not looking at the things that God is trying to cleanse you out of. And I think that I had to be in a part where I'm like, I'm deeply in love with God, and I am going to choose Him. Even when it hurts, even when it feels like I'm still in a place of, even when the little girl in me comes up and makes me feel like you don't nobody want to be with you. Don't nobody want to be around you. Don't nobody love you. I have to remind myself that God is the one that brought me into a new place, and God is the one that's going to bring me to my new fulfilling moment where I feel completely whole and where I feel completely wanted and loved. And that is what has helped me to continue to walk in this path. Because I think that most of the women that have been put in a place, it could be a numerous of things, but I believe some women are sitting in a place of brokenness and they don't feel that they can get out of it because they're still sitting in that little broken heartedness. And so I believe that as God moves you, or as you develop your relationship with God, He'll cleanse those things out of your heart, reveal it to you, and then you can be able to move closer to a place where you abstain from those things.
That's good.
That's really good. So I want to add on to what you said, and the scripture that has really helped me, and I take it from a different perspective, is Matthew 22:39, and it says, the Amplified, the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. That is, unselfishly seek the best or higher good for others. I think for me, I've always said I love my partner enough not to compromise him. And so because I love you enough, I understand the call that's also on that person's life. I'm not going to risk that. But then I love me enough. I understand that there are people who are looking at me. There are people who look up to me as an example, that even when I want to, I've got a responsibility. And so for me, that has kind of helped me to be like, girl, don't do that. Don't be stupid. Sometimes I just have to be honest with myself, like, girl. And for me, looking back on, and I've shared on Millennials Speak, my past, I've already gone down that road. So I know where it leads. And it led me to that broken girl. And I worked too hard with the help of God to heal from that. And so I'm not going back to Egypt. And so I consciously make that decision where it's like, if you make me feel like I got to go back to Egypt, you're letting me know that you're not it for me.
That's right.
So, I've really just stood firm on what I believe, and God honors it. My partner honors it, and it's working. And so I think just trusting God, believing God, fasting, praying, all the things the ladies said, and just understanding your worth. I think that when you understand who you are, whose you are, if God ain't asking me to compromise, who are you, baby? Like, I'm not about to. There was a Canton Jones song, and it's not. They always talk about, like, I'm not going to risk my salvation. And of course, theologically, we know that's not, really biblical or anything. But I'm not going to risk my relationship. If God said wait until marriage, there's a reason He's telling me that.
That's a reason.
And
Come on.
so I'm not going to, like, if you're trying to pull me away, I already know who sent you. And so it's just about using the wisdom that God has given me. And again, I think they said it, and I'm gonna close with this. You have friends for a reason. The moment you start feeling like, because I'll call Tay, I'll be like, ooh, Tay, this was going on, girl. I'll call her crying. I don't care.
And got to be honest. Got to be honest.
And now with other friends, oh, baby, I'm calling Karicia or Morgan and being like, baby, this was going on.
Yes. Yes. And I got into a place, and the thing for me too is I had to get in a place, because the enemy will try to close your mouth to make you feel embarrassed, to make you feel shame that you feel these type of things, that you are going through these type of things. And so there was a place where the enemy had a muzzle over my mouth, where I wasn't exposing no parts of my life. And so what happened to me, I was struggling in silence, and I was allowing myself to be compromised. And as I continued to compromise, my value of myself went down, and I wasn't even in a place to even pull myself out. And it wasn't until I opened up my mouth. It was like a moment I couldn't even hold it no more. I just broke down and I was crying. And it was a small group. It was literally a small group in my church. And we were talking about, this is when I started to actually open my mouth and just speak and know that God has literally sent people your way to actually improve who you are, and also to walk you into righteousness. You know what I'm saying? Because righteousness is a journey. Righteousness is a journey. It's a gift from God, but us to shine like Him, it's a journey. We take it. And so I think that when God started to send people my way, the muzzle, I was like, I can't hold it no more. And then I began to feel lighter. I felt that things were growing in me, and that my value was going, even though I was at a certain caliber in my value already, my value began to go higher. And so I think that it's important, like that's really good, is what you said, that don't feel ashamed.
Right.
Don't fear what people will think or what people will say, because God will literally send you people that will pull you out of the pits of hell, and that will actually show you love while they're doing it.
But it has to be the right people too. Like, we have to also discern, like, it has to be the right people. Because you will call out, you'll call some of those, what was we talked about last time, some of those worldly friends, and they'll tell you, go ahead and let them come over. Oh, girl, just go ahead. It's okay. We all make mistakes. I've heard that so many times. Like, we all make mistakes. It's okay. It's okay. Just go ahead and pray about it. Like, girl, why I call you? Like, no, it's got to be the right person and the right people that are holding you accountable, not to yourself, but to God.
The word of God says, don't take counsel from the ungodly.
You cannot.
Great, and not closer to God. Make sure you have your godly friends that's going to say, this is what the word says. Y'all are really speaking value. A few months ago at a conference, one of the panelists, she got up and she was telling her testimony and everything. And she said she had to get to a place where God told her, what's concealed cannot be healed. So when both of y'all were talking about like healing and all of that, it just kind of reminded me, and it's really been helping me a lot, even with just being open to God. Like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm seeing right now. This is what I'm experiencing. You know, like I need help. I can't do this by myself. So like really be open to God. Like even if you don't have those friends, and I pray you do have a friend that you could really talk to that's going to talk you through it and pray you through it, but talk to God and be open with him, because first of all, he already know what's going on. He's the God who's all things, very present God. But come to him with an open heart, like, this is what I'm feeling, and I want to, you know, get over this feeling. I want to get over this urge. Help me to, you know, get over the urge, Lord. And he will do just that. You have not because you ask not. So you're constantly going to have the temptations and the urges and the lustful desires if you don't ask God to help you in those situations.
Come on. Yeah.
Y'all are really speaking tonight already, as I expected. So. I don't expect anything less. So next question, or did anybody have anything to say to that one?
No, you good.
Next question. How do you advise accountability in dating? How do you advise it?
So expound on that a little bit for me. How do we advise like friends or, you know, our people in our circle when it comes to dating, or what?
I guess it would. Oh, go ahead, Alice.
So you start dating somebody, and how would you advise a young Christian couple to move in their dating experience?
Okay, so for me, and I'm actually dealing with this experience right now with a young lady at my church who is firstly dating, very, very, very exciting, like very excited, like her, she's overzealous, you know, that she's met a guy and, you know, and all of these things when it comes to dating. And I would give her, you know, my mom would always say these things, like I would mess up and I would just be so distraught, you know, when it comes to myself. But my niece would do something. I'd be like, no, I've got to warn her and I got to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm always preaching to her. And my mom would always say to me, what makes her more valuable than yourself? Like, why aren't you, know, why can't you do that? You know? And so now that I'm following these practices, I would give her those same practices, the boundaries, advise her in what that looks like when it comes to putting God first, you know, and being the intentionality that I've already talked about, you know, and I've also talked about for her in her newfound relationship with me being very open and honest because, you know, she is a kingdom sister to me, but she's also a 3. She's a 3 for me. Right. So then I also had to see what that looked like because again, I can't give her all the number 2, right? And so now we have to understand those numbers. And so because she is a 3 for me, I have to talk to her as if I'm mentoring or I'm guiding her. And that's where you're saying with that advisement. And so I was telling her, it was so funny how you just said, as far as like, you know, our salvation, 3 of my most important things. One I used to say all the time, and we always say, you know, Black folks come up with the most biblical stuff, right? And so the 3 things that I've like really leaned on so hard, and I would say most recently, number 1 is I'm not compromising my salvation for nobody. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care who you are. I'm not compromising, right? No matter what that looks like. Number 2, I used to say it differently, but Alice, I done stole it from you because I love it how you said it. Baby, you got to be able to cover what I carry. Plain and simple. And that's what I've always told people too. Like, I need you to be able to cover me because I know I have a calling on my life. That I need to know that you're able to handle and carry that weight. Because baby, I got some weight. Okay. And my number 3, I see that in her as well. Like, you have weight that needs to be carried. And number 3, are you purposeful? Or are you fulfilling a purpose in my life? Because everything that's around me and surrounding me right now has to be purposeful in God. It absolutely has to be. And so that would be what I'm advising her on. It's prayer and the fasting that we talked about and the accountability and being able to speak up about it. And she's also in a position where I always tell her that she runs and tells everybody everything about her relationship. Oh, we got into an argument today. Oh, girls, I said, baby, listen. That's not for everybody. Because one thing that's going to happen is you've been and forgave that man for something that was this minuscule over something y'all that argued about. And everybody else that you done told going to be mad as the dickens and ain't going to be able to forgive that man. Okay. So the things that are happening, get you some real good close kingdom sisters and be able to talk through some of those things. But number one, talk through it with God. Like, you ain't got to run a man. You don't got to run your friend. You ain't got to run your cousin then. Baby, talk to God and he will open that up for you. And one of the things that I also tell her, even when it come back to we were talking about the dating. The one thing that has been saving me, that has been my saving grace, y'all. The one thing that God has been opening my eyes. When I meet somebody, if I go out on a date with them, God has been saving me, because my initial prayer is, God, if this man is not for me, I ask you just to remove it right away.
Right away.
God, if this is not your will, and baby, he has been doing just that. Do you hear me? If this is not your will, God, if this man is not the man that you see for me, okay? Because he can't just come tell me that God told him, and a man told me that before God told me. So, baby, how he told you? He told me. So, God, if this is not for you, and so those are the same things that I'm telling her. This is the prayer you need to have. If God has not opened up your eyes to this, if this is not his will, then it is okay to walk away. There's no way that I want a piece of man rather than having a man. There's no way about that. So it's been the prayer. I've been every day or so, I'll send her different scriptures when it comes to God's promises to single women, God's promises in a relationship, things like that. I have an amazing book that's called God's Promises to Singles. And so just counseling and walking through this new relationship with her. And then sometimes giving her a little backstory of, this is what happened. This may happen. Hey, just keep your eyes open for this. So just making sure I'm also there when she needs to lean on me. And so those are different ways that I'm advising her.
And before Morgan goes, the scripture that just kept coming to my mind is Peter 3:9, and it talks about how the Lord is not slack concerning his promises, as some men count slackness. God, I think you hit something on the nail when you talked about, and I don't want people to not have it in their heads, you don't have to settle for a piece of a man. That's powerful. First of all, that first sentence, you don't have to settle. One of the things that my mom always said to me is, dust settles, you don't. And that in life. And I think that's something that's important, and understanding that if a man isn't giving you his best in God, you don't need to stay. If they're only willing to give you half, if I'll say it this way, because I hear God, if they are not willing to treat you the way that God does, it's okay to walk away.
Absolutely.
Whatever God has for you is going to uphold the standards by God.
Right.
I'll say this lastly. My mama told me a lot, but one of the things that she used to say when I was younger is that your heart needs to be so wrapped up in God that when your kingdom comes to find you, they have to seek God to get you. And
absolutely.
And so allowing yourself to be in God, and I think that is the resounding sound tonight, is we are in God and we are doing our purpose. Don't wait for a man to come do your purpose. No, do your purpose now. And when they come alongside you, they need to be in theirs, and you need to be in alignment to be able to walk the path for both of you. And so I hope you just heard what Karicia said, because it was powerful. It was wisdom. And I think that if you're a single tonight, you need to be taking notes, because baby, I'm going back to take notes, because they're dropping the gyms already and we're not even like halfway in here yet. Getting warmed up, and baby, they are dropping bombs. And so I'm going ahead and again, but I needed to say that because she just gave us wisdom, and I know it's going to be beneficial to my life.
That's good.
That's good.
Come on, Karicia.
Listen, I take this single walk. This single walk is very serious for me. And like, Tate and Morgan have both been a part of my singles ministry and in my singles classes. The way I study, the way I seek God for singles, like I have such a heart for singles, because one thing that tears me up, like I have a heart for people, period. Right? Like I feel people, I see people, and sometimes I can see people and I'm just like, I can feel what they're going through, right? And nothing breaks my heart more than a single person feeling like they have to settle. Nothing breaks my heart more than seeing a single person every other month bringing a new man after man after man down off to the second pew at the church. And every other day is somebody different. And every other day is he broke my heart. Why? Where are we at? Let's figure this thing out. Like, why are we allowing this? Why are we doing this? And then it hurts me more and more too to see these single women come into this church with baby after baby after baby after baby. And where are these dads at? Like, where are these relationships? Like, where is your relationship with Christ? Like, because of these daddy issues, and we haven't learned to lean on our father. We haven't learned to lean on our daddy. It's all these issues that happen. And it literally hurts my heart that singles do not value themselves and who they are in God before they value a man or a woman or anybody else. And it's like, I want people to get to a position where it's like, baby, don't hold your body accountable to that person, because literally you are the temple. Like, we are of God. Like, if I live my life and how God made me, like, I am made in his image. And if we learn to live our lives that way, like, there are so many things that we will already just shift and move in different ways, and things won't even hit us the same way they will, because we have to learn. I'm sorry, y'all. I was like, let me not preach. I just feel very, I'm just very serious when it comes to your singleness and your relationship and being happy in God. Like, God will give us a joy like none other. Like, God wakes me up and I'm just happy. Like, we all have our days, but I wake up like I don't have to be accountable to anybody but God. I don't have to wake up, and then when it comes time to where God has been preparing me and he has been putting me in position, and God has had me for the past year, every night before I go to bed, I read Proverbs 31 every night. And there are just so many different gems. Every time I read it, I find something else. And every time I go a little further back to read the verses before that, I find something else. And it's like, if we just listen to what God has for us, baby, you don't know who you can be. Because I didn't know I was this person. I had no idea when I was in my relationship, and I know we might dab into it, but when I was in my relationship, you said a little bit about it, Alice, like who you are and getting out of it and where we were before. And I know last time we all talked and we went further into this, but when I walked away from my relationship, I was not the Karicia that I am today. I was broken. I was hurt. I was all these different things. I was depressed. I spiraled real bad. But baby, I'm not Humpty Dumpty, and I didn't expect this new man to pick me up and put me back together. That had to be me and God. I had to walk. I had to surrender fully, right? Like, it's not some man's job to make me happy. It's not some man's job to just say, you know what, oh, you beautiful, you XYZ, baby, because I know I'm cute. I know I'm beautiful. So when you say that, it don't move me. Like, oh, it's sweet, but I'm not hopping in your bed because you call me cute.
Yeah.
And so that hurts me for young women. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I had to take my time and say, God, I need to be fully restored. I need to be transformed. I need to be renewed before I walk into a new relationship. And until God fully restored me, thank you, Holy Spirit, until God fully freed me, until I was free of what that looked like, free of the brokenness, then there was no way I was stepping back into a new relationship.
Yeah. And a lot of that is rooted in identity.
Yeah.
You know, you'll settle for anything because first you don't know who you are and you don't know whose you are. And when you know you are and who you are, life is different. I think I made a post about that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, when I came in encounter with who I really am in God, my life changed because I now know who I am, and now I know how to structure my life based on the standards that God has for me.
That's right.
The plans that God has for me. So I'm not gonna settle for anything because I know what He has called for me. I know what He has placed before me.
Right.
So don't ever let somebody come in and, you know, push you away from that, pull you away from what God has said before you. Like, make sure you're really in the presence of God and listening, because He's going to tell you, He's going to give you strategy. He's going to give you instruction on how to do it, where to go to find it. Anything you need, you can find in God. So again, identity, it's rooted in identity. Don't settle. Know who you are. Know who you are in Christ. And like I said in the beginning, in my singleness, I've been learning who I am.
Yeah.
So I know how easily I could be attracted to somebody who's 6 foot something, dark skin, white pearly teeth. So I know how easy.
Listen, because we don't settle. I need somebody to put that in the comments, baby. Dust settles. We don't. Okay. Baby, the dust settles, and we ain't dusty. Okay, because I'm far from dusty. Okay.
I'm a royal priesthood, because that's what my daddy told me, right? So know who you are, because you're not going to settle for anything. and walk into any relationship with the spirit of discernment. Anytime you come in encounter with somebody, be like, Lord, show me. Like Karicia said, show me now. So you don't go in wasting your time, because then when you get into something and you have committed so much time and all of this, then when it's over, you're like, oh, I wasted so much of my life.
That's right.
Don't put yourself in that. Ask God to show you head on, because he will. But make sure you know who you are and whose you are, because relationship is going to be different for you. Go into it with a godly standard, your godly values, and don't let anybody take that away from you. Nobody.
Right. And I think that's really good. I want to stay there for a second, Tay, because you talked about discernment, and people don't realize how important that is, because just because a man goes to church does not mean he's in God.
Come on.
So I had fallen victim to that at one point in my life. I didn't have discernment. So I'm dating somebody who's in church but's willing to compromise. And because I'm a young believer, I don't even realize it. And I'm like, well, you done been in church longer than I have. So if you say it's okay, it's okay. No, baby. I don't care about it. I don't care what their title is. I don't care where they serve in church. I'm telling you, just because they say that they are Christian, do you bear fruit? And I think we talked about this last. You need to check the fruit. And I'm not talking about the outside. Did y'all ever see an apple that look good on the outside but rotten in the inside?
Rotten on the inside.
I tell people all the time, you need to be your own TSA. Put that person under the light and ask the Lord, is this really for me? And go to Karicia's prayer. That is a dangerous prayer if you don't want the truth. But if you want the truth, open your mouth and pray. Expose who sent this. Because I remember one time I asked the Lord real quick. I was like, God, who's sending this? This you or is this the enemy? God revealed that thing so quickly, baby. I was like, I wasn't ready, but okay. I'm out. I'm out. And so what they just said, discernment is key. Do not, because here's the thing. God will give you answers if you ask him.
He will.
Willing to. And again, I think it goes back to it. Dust settles. We don't settle just to have something. I always tell people I'd rather, and I know people like, she just spiritual, but I would rather have Jesus and happiness than to have a and be miserable.
Come on.
Because at the end of the I know people, I have friends, y'all have heard me say it on this platform. I have friends who have been in marriages miserable, all because they chose to do it their way and not God.
They chose who they wanted, and not what I had.
I believe that God brings these conversations up, and there's people who are watching who you're questioning, like, Lord, I need the sign. Well, baby, here it is. Do not settle. Listen to the voice of God. God knows the beginning to the end to the beginning. And so understand that he has a perfect plan for you. I think it was Brandy. I was talking to her not too long ago, and she talked about how we can go into different types of wills. It could be the enemy's will, then there's God's perfect will, and then there's our own will. Right. You have to decide whose will are you going to go after. And if you're willing to go after God's will, I promise you, you will benefit and eat the good of the land. But if you decide to go down the enemy's trap hole, baby, I don't know. I can't tell you where your life gonna go.
Yeah.
So listen to wisdom tonight. These women are coming on here sharing their testimonies. And I believe it's not by accident if you're still tuned in. There is a reason you're listening to us. Take heed to the warnings that God has given you, and do not play with your life. Baby, marriage is a covenant. Let me just say that, because I know the world don't value it anymore. They think just in and out. But baby, it's a covenant. You are made for God and your family. It is a covenant. Take it serious. Biblical days, they took covenant serious. We as the church have to get back to that. And I truly want to end on this. I can tell you, as far as millennials go, I believe that the tide is getting ready to turn, and we will see godly marriages because there's conversations like this happening.
Come on.
Truly bless us with who he has for us. Why? Because we can be trusted with the gift of marriage. And so to do your work, even if you're single, because your time is coming. It might not be yet.
That's right.
I want to insert something. I promise, Morgan, I'm gonna let you go after this. As Alex was just talking, I was just like listening to God, and I heard he told me to tell you guys, stop chasing. It is not up to women to chase a man.
That's it.
Okay, so you don't chase, because the word of God says, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain favor in the Lord. And then I'm a counterpart it with this. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you. So if you're in your lane, you're in your purpose, you're content in your singleness, you're chasing after God and not chasing after the man, God's going to send you that man. That's exactly what his word says. So don't go chasing. Don't you be looking like, I do believe in making yourself approachable, but we're not out here just chasing. Like,
That's
okay,
right.
well, he didn't find interest in me. Let me go to the next guy. Oh, he didn't smile at me. Let me go to the next one. No, we're not out here to chase. You step outside of your covenant with God when you try to take it into your own hands. So seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added. That includes your man. I believe that.
Yes,
okay.
I have a question though. Because I see, now that we got the wisdom on here tonight, I need to ask this question because I think that they can answer it, and it keeps a lot of young Christian women single. How do we become approachable? Because there are many men who are afraid to approach women in the church because they feel like they're not approachable. How do we change that dynamic?
I'm ready. Morgan, I know you took a chance. You want to
come on, Karicia.
So we've talked about this in our singles group. Yeah. And so what happens is, let me tell you this. It was my spiritual mom and actually my spiritual father. And after I got out of my relationship, because of my brokenness, right? Because of how I was mean and I was mad and I was upset. And I was just ugly, baby. I was just trolly, okay? And just ugly. And so I couldn't figure out why after so long. I'm like, dang, how she got a man? Dang, how she got to be like, and nothing's happening for me, right? And so my spiritual dad said, because your spirit is ugly. That your spirit is ugly. And I said, what does that mean? Like, where are you coming from with this? He said, when you walking around, he said, you don't even notice the face, like how you looking on your face. He said, you ain't smiling at anybody. He said, your eyes looking mean. He said, it's just how you're carrying. He said, your spirit, when you're walking past people don't want to speak to you because your spirit is upset. You can feel that and you can see that. And I said, okay, so what do I do? Like, nobody's approaching me. No man is talking to me. I could be the only woman in a room full of men, and baby, they is going the opposite direction. Okay, they not here for me. And he said, because your spirit is not approachable. Your spirit is not open like you are a happy single woman. He said, your spirit looks like you mad at the world and you mad at that last man. That's what your spirit look like. And I said, okay, so how'd I get there? And my spiritual mom, Diane Lazar, baby, she told me, because you're not ready yet. She said, once your spirit, she said, from the things that you're trying to heal from, she said, once you go from condemnation to conviction, then you will never be fully set free. And she said, and once you stop condemning yourself and you feel convicted and you start to get that in your spirit and you move into a different area, then your spirit will be healed. Because she said, you are living right now in your body and your mind. We're made up of our mind, will, and emotion, right? And so I had to get all of that intact to fully be able to have a different sense and a different, a different spirit about myself. Like, it had to be from the inside out. Right. And so I had to start praying. And that's when I started getting better and a different alignment in my spirit. And I had to start getting more content and more happy and do things that made Karicia happy and seek what made me happy and seek God. Just like Tay said, I had to seek God first. And then I had got so caught up into all of this. I was on Hinge. I was on Plenty of Fish. I was seeking her. Baby, I was looking for the people. Okay. And it was, not coming my way. And I didn't understand it until I said, you know what, I'm setting all of that aside and I'm going to fully commit myself to being actually happy. Put these dating sites down. Stop going out and sitting at these bars fishing for a man to walk up to you by yourself. Because baby, I was doing it all. Do you hear me? And so I said, switch it up. Because again, if you want different, then you have to do different and you have to be different. And so my spirit then became fully healed. And I started to walk and not even have a smile on my face and not even realize that my eyes are smiling and not even realize that I'm giving off now that I am open and that I am approachable. And then people started approaching me. I was just like, is people really asking me on dates? So once I had to cleanse myself of that ugly spirit and then just that spirit of just like, baby, just it ain't no good. That ain't no good men out here. I don't even try like that ugly, right? That untruth, because Satan was trying to keep me in that non-truth. And when I made sure that my reality wasn't lined up with my truth, because my truth said that there is a good man out there. My truth was, God's truth for me was, I will have a godly marriage and a kingdom husband. My truth is I'm going to be a mother. But my reality didn't say that at that time. My reality was trying to tell me something else. But when I turned around and said my reality is not my truth, I then had to look different, and then I was feeling different from the inside out.
That's good. That's really good.
That's good. I think for me, at some point in my life, I was like, the men that I wanted to approach me wasn't approaching me. So it's kind of, and it was at a place where then at one point, nobody was approaching me. And then I went from a place where I was talking to, at the time was a somebody that I looked up to that was a mentor towards me. And she was saying, sometimes God will have you hidden. And God will close you off so the man or whoever it is that is seeking you can see you. And so I think that being approachable is being in a place of lightheartedness, to know that I don't have to force myself to be seen. I don't have to force myself for people, the men that I want to look at me. Because the fact is that when it's time for you to be revealed, when it's time for you to be seen, you will be seen. And this is in any aspect of your life. This doesn't have to even apply just to a relationship. When there is a time when God, whatever God has for you, when I learned this, when I learned who God was, the type of God I served, and what He can do for me in just a second, I stopped thinking about how long it'll take or when it'll be my turn or when God's gonna reveal to me, because what He has for me is for me. I don't have to sit in a space and be like, oh, do I look cute here? Oh, let me sit right here. Maybe they'll see me. Oh, look, maybe I need to wear my hair down, because I had a lot of people say that my hair was cute down. So maybe I should wear it like that. And then you stop trying. And that's when you start to do all those type of things, you start to feed yourself, your self-pride. And then you become so prideful in yourself that you're not even hearing from God and what God has for you, because you're starting to become a people pleaser. You're starting to become an idol of yourself. You're starting to idolize yourself and idolize the seeking of people looking at you.
That's good. Come on.
And so I think that one of the biggest things for me was to realize that I don't have to be seen. I don't have to make myself be seen. I don't have to make myself desirable. I don't have to make myself appear in any type of way, because whoever God has for me is for me. And then, like, to what God was kind of speaking to me a little bit about in the past, when in my past relationship, the most recent one, I had to realize that sometimes the capacity of both of you are just not equatable to that moment that you need to be, that God needs you to be in order to flourish in who God is calling you to be in a relationship. And so I think that we have to understand that there's a capacity, like Alice was talking about the other day, there's a capacity that people will be able to carry, to be able to see both sides of you. And so when we are trying to force a fit, when we're trying to force a triangle into a circle, and we get frustrated.
Okay, talk about it.
We get frustrated because we aren't in the space, or we feel like we're not in the space or in the capacity to be where God needs us to be and to be seen. We start to frustrate ourselves. So I think that it's important that we understand that we don't have to force ourselves to be approachable or desirable or anything, because God shows us, and when God is when God's ready to reveal us, that we will be seen by the people, or the person we need to be seen by.
I think also it's like, the thing is, what you just said, Morgan, it's like, you know, and then kind of going back into what we exude and like, you know, from the inside out, because we also had a young lady who was in our class in a previous semester who said, all I attract is this type of man. And these men be sending me these messages, and this man is always doing this, and white people always feel like they can play in my face. Let me say this. Ain't no man sending no pictures to my phone. Ain't no man playing in my face. Ain't no man approaching me that's not the type of caliber of man that I am attracting. And I've told them that because that's also how you carry yourself, and that, you know, trying to be seen in XYZ. Let me tell you something. When I'm in church, I'm not walking up hugging on no man. I don't hug the deacons, okay? I'm not putting my arms around you. I'm going to give you a good pat. How you doing, Deacon? Okay. And I'm not running around trying to be cute. And I tell you what they'll tell you, and more tell you. Now, one thing you're going to get out of Karicia at church is a pair of heels and a good different color lip. But baby, I'm not trying to be in there trying to be cute for nobody, because at the end of the day, I roll on the floor. I might get up in my ponytail sitting next to me because of how I prayed. Baby, one Sunday I got up and I had one eyebrow wiped off because my face was laid on the floor the whole service. Okay. So I'm not getting up trying to look at this man in the corner, this man in this corner. And it's also how you carry yourself. I had a gentleman walk up to me one day and told me, he said, I absolutely love how you carry yourself like a woman. And he said, it's the way you carry yourself of the type of man that will approach you. And I was always telling her, like, it's also like, I'm not kikiing in no man's face. I'm not playing no games with you. Like, I have to show you what I'm looking for. And I have to be very truthful to myself in that. I don't talk to my friend's husband, baby. If I need to call my friend, or if I need to call your husband, I call you first and say, is your husband available? If I need to get in touch with somebody that's married in the church, I'm not calling. I don't care if I got your number. I don't care if the church directory say call you. I'm not calling nobody's husband.
Right.
Okay. Because then that's also going to show you I'm not that type. I'm not that girl. Mm-hmm. So I think it's also how we have to carry ourselves, and we have to be serious about what we're attracting, because I'm not attracting no mess, because I'm not dusty. Okay.
I'm going to add just this real quick. One of the things that I feel that is important to us to know, that when you carry yourself as a wife, that's what people will see. When you carry yourself with dignity, and you do this in the way that you dress, you do this in the way that you speak, the way that you engage, just like Karicia was saying, all of those things are very important when you're carrying yourself and being able to attract whoever you're desiring to attract. Because whatever you look like, however you act, whatever you exude, that's what you're going to get back. And you're frustrating yourself when you're seeing that, oh, this is what I'm getting. Oh, this is what I'm looking. Okay, so then there needs to be a spot and a place in your mind that, so let me examine me. Because there are some things in me that I may need to deal with prior to me being frustrated with a man that's only reacting to where I'm, the energy that I'm pulling off, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying?
You don't got to be flirty. Yeah, you don't got that flirty spirit.
It's important. I think that one thing that God had started to reveal to me, I was like, God, all these men coming to me talk about I'm their wife, and ain't nobody trying to marry me. And so God told me this. He was like, this is your identity. So even the enemy recognizes who you are. So he will send people, and they will say things like this. They will say, oh, that you're my wife, or this type of that. And this is why discernment is so important, because the enemy even knows when you have an identity and who you are and where you are and what you're walking in Christ. The enemy is trying to attack that. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And if he can attack the character or who God has already called you to be, he can send somebody that looks good, that sounds good, and is not necessarily for you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's important to know that as well, just because when you carry yourself like this and people notice you and all those type of things, that doesn't go to meaning that this man is for me.
That's right.
Yeah. And I'm glad y'all talked about that too. I think that one of the things that I want to pull out from what you all were talking about, and you said it, but I want to put some like language to it, is understanding familiar spirits and understanding like generational curses. And so if your mama only attracted this type, your grandma only attracted, like really making sure that you do your due diligence to fast, to pray, to ask the Lord to break those things that would try to then enter your life and your children's life, right? But then I think it's a mindset thing. However a man thinks, so shall it be. And so if you don't change your mind through Christ, you'll continue to attract what you're familiar to. Why? Because your mind has not been renewed. The other thing is, and I told y'all this last week, is watching your mouth. And I think Karicia was saying it earlier, where she talked about if you have this thing of there are no good men, well, baby, they won't come to you because you said there are none.
That's right.
But you said you don't exist. It's not coming out of thin air. So you have to make sure that you are not cursing your life. And many people don't realize that they are what is it, Holy Spirit? There's a scripture, and y'all help me. It talks about how the wise woman builds her home.
Mm-hmm.
And also tears it down.
Yep.
Many people don't understand as women, the Bible talks about the power that is in our tongue. And so many of us don't understand we're building our lives by what we speak on a daily basis. And so maybe God wants to send you your partner, but he can't because you literally through your words made a door that is blocking it.
That's so good.
Declared something, then now it's like he'll honor your words. Think about Genesis. The Bible talks about God spoke it and it was. And so could it be that you're speaking things? And so now those things have to come to fruition. And so now it's like you're staying single and you didn't have to be. Wisdom. And I'm going to say this really, really quickly. I'm going to try to wrap this up because I want to get back to them. But we talk about how there's a difference between you being, and I'm going to just say how my mama used to say it, high sedity, and you being a woman of standard.
That's right.
Because many people, you have these, what is it, the passport bros and the fly this. Some of y'all are keeping yourselves single because you don't have a godly standard. You've entertained the world.
Yeah.
Right. You have the world standard, you'll get the world's results. And let me tell you, behind the scenes, they ain't happy. And so we have to make sure that our standards are matching up with what the Bible says. But the other thing that I like that they talked about is being accountable. I think that we miss that so many times. And when I say being accountable, even being accountable to what the Spirit of the Lord will tell you. Because sometimes if we're obedient to hear him, if he says, look left, baby, look left, because your husband might be left.
That's right.
If you're disobedient, you aren't seeing what God has for you because you're not, again, that word is coming up, being discerning.
Yes.
That's right.
So I want you guys to pay attention to the language that they're using tonight because they're trying to give you wisdom that I believe is really applicable to everyday life. Like this isn't a show tonight that you're going to listen and then you can't apply it to your life. No, I don't care what place you find yourself in. There is wisdom tonight that you can learn from and apply it. And I guarantee you that you are going to get results. Why? Because when God speaks a word, he fulfills it. And so
that's right.
Y'all ladies are like phenomenal. Tay and I are like super, super grateful. We want to make sure that we respect time. So we're going to ask a few more questions. But if y'all are enjoying it, can y'all tell them thank you in the comments? Like go down there right now and say thank you because they are just phenomenal tonight. Yeah. But I want to talk about this topic, right? Because some of the saints of God believe that they can live together. You know, and there are some little prophets out here saying that it's not a sin to live with a partner. It's not a sin to cohabitate with a partner. All of this stuff before marriage. What say ye? What do y'all say? We need to hear it.
Let me tell you, I have posted this on Instagram. It honestly, so many people was like, "Boy, this is so true," and I reposted it, and it said that if you fasting and you got a man that's living with you that's not your husband, girl, go in the kitchen and get something. And so this is the thing. This is how I feel about the whole thing. I feel that this is a part of compromising. Mm-hmm. This is a part of compromising your standard. This is a part of compromising I feel that let me go back a little bit. I feel that when you are living in a space when you're living in a space with a man that is not your husband, there is you're allowing a easier way for temptation to come through.
Yeah.
And when temptation, and I'm telling you through experience. This is not just hearsay. This is experience. When you are allowing a man to be around you 24/7 and allowing a man to stay in your living quarters or you stay in his, you are allowing the enemy to come in and disrupt whatever sanctity you done gave yourself. And so you cannot, when you're in a space of, because at this point, y'all are in a relationship, y'all married without a piece of paper, you know what I'm saying? And if you have that, and if some people, they have that self-control and all of those different things and those standards that they may put in place that they have where they can. But most of us out here, it's a struggle. When we living with somebody 24/7, somebody that you deeply care about, that you desire to have a further relationship with, there you are letting a segue in for the enemy to come in and to disrupt whatever it is that you have going on with your relationship with God. And so I think that it's important that we recognize not this act in itself, but what it can open up to. So when we allow a man to come in and we are around them all the time, or whatever the case may be, they living with us or whatever, right, you are allowing the enemy, you are allowing a segue for the enemy to come in and give you temptation. And the question is, do you have the self-control that is needed to actually sustain the will of God and to sustain sustain what God has told you to do from the beginning? And so I think that I'm not let's put this on the table. Where are you in your self-control? Where are you in your walk with God? How are you in your relationship with God first? And before we go into a place of just jumping in to saying, oh, I want this man to live with me, or this man, I'm gonna live with this man.
That's good. Mm-hmm. Self-control, that's important. Mm-hmm. Absolutely important. And I totally agree. And I mean, to answer the question, it's like, absolutely not for me. I do not think that should be going on. That is a no, a big no, because like Morgan said, first of all, that is a portal for the enemy to just come in. And second of all, don't put yourself in a role that you have honestly not actually been called to be. Do not play house, play wifey, and you're not a wife. That is confusing to the people. And that's a part of settling, because in his mind, and we all know how men can think sometimes, it's like, why do I necessarily got to go that mile when we're already doing it? We're already living in it. You're practically my wife because we live together, but I'm not your wife. Mm. And so you have, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
So you have now crossed a boundary that is very much hard to come back from. And no, I have not personally lived with a man, but I have heard stories. And it's hard to turn back from that once you're in it. So now you're expecting this, now you're angry, now you're mad, now you're bitter because he's never going to propose. He's never going to ask your hand in marriage. He's never going to go further. He's never going to put you in that position because you have already kind of leveled yourself to that position when you were never called to that
position. Feel seen tonight, Jesus. Baby, come down my drink.
Go ahead, sis.
I don't know. I feel like we should let Karicia go last because she's going to drop the gems in the bomb.
Yeah. I already know.
We're going to let her go last. I'm going to be real quick, and then I'm going to throw the mic to her. My mama, I told y'all I'm talking about my mama.
We love it.
To me, why buy the cow when you could get the milk for
free? Milk for free.
Baby, I don't do freebies over this way. Not doing freebies. And if you can sign the rent contract or the mortgage contract, you could sign the wedding contract.
Come on.
You like signing papers, so I'm gonna need you to sign the papers that say we do. And so for me, I got too many family members, guy cousins, who were shacking up but refused to put rings on any of those women's fingers. And so I have seen the, what do they say? The whatever is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. Proof is in the pudding, baby. I'm gonna tell you, I'm not doing it. If you can see me as a wife and you want to play house, I'm agreeing with Datavia. Then you can make me your wife. If you can't make me your wife, then we can't live in the same house. There is a respect level. I think that, again, it goes back to knowing your worth. When you know let me tell you something. Can I tell y'all my favorite saying that I say to men?
Go ahead.
I'm Nigerian, part Nigerian. And one of the things that I say to people is, I can't come leave my father's house to live in your hut. And so I am not leaving, whether you have a natural father or a spiritual father. My heavenly father takes good care of me. So I'm not leaving that house where there is security, where there is a covenant, to a covenantless house, and now a house of sin. All because whether we having sex or not, baby, you don't respect me enough to make me an honest woman. Because if the pastor come into this house and he see my stuff and he see your stuff and he ain't officiated a wedding, we look compromised. So no, you can compromise my life because I got people looking at me. So if you want Alice, let the record reflect. Like, now I don't believe in Beyonce, but she said something right. Put a ring on it.
Come on, that's good. I like this.
And then they say, well, you don't put a ring on it so you can live with her. No, you can't, baby. Get me down the aisle. If you can't get me down the aisle before my family and my friends, you don't want me that bad. So that's my 2 cents on that one. I'm going to hand it over to Minister Karicia because I know she's going to take us to church.
Let's go, sis. Let us hear it.
Karicia.
Listen, let me tell y'all something. I lived with my ex for 7 years. 7 whole years. Okay, do you hear me? We only dated, I wouldn't even say 5 months before we moved in together. Okay. And so it was one of those, it wasn't even like a planned move in. It was kind of, well, I'm always at your house or you always at mine. So why don't we just stop wasting bills? Because you paying rent, I'm paying rent, but we under each other. Let's just go ahead and do this move in together. And so we went into a contract that, Alice just said, we got a condo together. We first got an apartment and then we got a condo. And then we had these just amazing ideas. If we paying these bills together, we might as well go ahead and get a shared bank account because the bills got to be coming out of somewhere, right, dummy? And so I said, okay, let's just go ahead and do it. And so what happened was we're living together, and Morgan said it, we're sleeping together. My willpower about this big. So at first it was one of those, okay, well, I'm a woman of God and we can't do this because, we got to be XYZ and we got to wait. Maybe that lasted all of about 2 months, to be absolutely honest. Okay. Because when it's right there and baby, you right here, you laying right here next to me, I'm a roll over. Okay. And it was that simple. Okay. So we're going to be honest, and we're going to be honest tonight. Is that simple. Okay. And so then what began to happen was, baby Alice, honey, did you say that earlier? That good godly man looked like a man of God because I met him in the church. Okay. And you in the church, I'm in the church. And what happened was, because we living together, baby, we trying every single thing not to get caught. We ride to church in separate cars. When you get there, don't speak to me in that parking lot. We're going to walk in separate doors. And when I say we try so hard not to be seen, and when you're doing something that bad and trying so hard, you know it's not right. You absolutely know it's not right. Baby, I can't hold your hand down off in this church. I can't leave with you in this church because we can't get found out that we're living together. Okay. And so in my mind, I'm thinking we sneaking, we doing something right because we're not doing it. But every morning we woke up and we prayed together. Before we went to bed, we prayed together. You come home from work and your dinner is made, it's on the stove. You ain't got to worry about your clothes because I'm washing them. Baby, I'm auditioning for the part that you never wanted to give me.
Good. That is good.
Wait a minute.
I'm auditioning for a part that you never wanted to give me from the very beginning. So every day I'm auditioning and I'm trying to be your wife because in my mind, I'm going to give you all these good things because in my mind, if I show you I could be a good wife, then you're going to make me your wife. Right? And so I'm doing this day by day. I'm waking up and we doing the same things. And so we going on with life, and we still in this relationship. And one day I was at a funeral and me and him walked in. We said, we're going to go together. We went to this funeral together because people knew we were together. They just didn't know we lived together. So we go to this funeral together. My spiritual father did the eulogy right after the funeral. He's talking to somebody, and me and him thinking we're going to sneak out. He said, Karicia and young man, meet me in my office. I said, oh, Lord, okay, what's happening? We get to that office. He said, let me tell y'all this. I know y'all living together. He said, and let me tell you this, young man. He said, what you're not going to do is drag my daughter through the mud. He said, if you want to be with her, respect her enough to change her last name or to be with her. And he said, and if not, move out of that house and leave her alone. And he said, he looked at me, he said, Karicia, I'm not putting it all on him because it's you too. He said, you're too smart to be acting so stupid. And that's exactly what he told me. And he said, I'm not going to let you do this anymore. And I thank God for Bishop Beatty because he said, baby, I cried my eyes out in the office. And he said, you're too smart, you're too beautiful, and you're too godly to allow this to happen to you. He said, I'm giving y'all both 2 weeks to separate that housing. He said, and both of y'all are sat down from ministry. And he said, and you still have to come to church. It was the embarrassment of it all that I still had to come to church and I couldn't serve. And the people wondering why I can't serve, but I'm still down off in this church, right? We separated. Oh, silly me, silly rabbit. That lasted 2 months and we moved right back in together thinking we was going to do it again. And after we moved in together, slowly but surely, let me tell you something. God was closing doors. He was removing things that I thought were great for my life. Things started to happen. And I'm like, God, what is going on? I'm praying for these things and we're praying in our relationship. And I'm asking you to bless this house. But how you blessing this mess? Like how in my mind, it's just like, it's not making sense to me, right? But I'm asking for all of these blessings, but you telling me like, this ain't right. And I'm seeing the fruit of my sin. I'm seeing what's happening right before my very eyes, right? And so I started to literally get sick and get like, I would lay on the couch and I would hear him coming in. I would hear keys at the door and I was like, that's him again. You know, and I'm just like, I'm getting like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm starting to feel convicted. And it's just like, after a while, I was like, you got to go sleep in the guest room. Cause I don't want to do this anymore. And I don't want this. And this just cannot be my life. And he swindled and hey, baby, he talked a real good talk to get back in that place. But long story less long, I was like, I have to get out of this because if I want to move forward in my life, if I want doors to be back open for me, these doors that have been closing before my eyes, because I'm asking God to open these doors and God said, I'm not blessing you in this area of your life because how do I expect God to bless me with money when I'm about to put it into the sinful house? How do I expect God to promote me when I can't even be a steward of the things that he's already giving me? And so I was like, I have to get out of this place. And so I did start talking to my spiritual mom and I was talking to my spiritual dad and my spiritual dad said, whatever you need to do, I don't care what the cost looks like. I don't know what it looks like, but we're going to write a check. Whatever you got to do to get out of that house, we are going to get you out of there because I need you to do better. And so it wasn't until I looked into myself and said, you know what? And this had been after cheating. Okay. This had been after a girl called. Now, mind you, he was a musician. Okay. And I'm trying to respect time. He was a musician. So I would go, here I am again, trying to be this good girlfriend because I'm auditioning for your wife. We were at an 8 o'clock service, a 10 o'clock service, a 2 o'clock service, a 7 o'clock service, and sometimes be there at the church till about midnight, right? And I still got to go to work. The folks was calling me first lady, and some of these churches, like Alice said, they didn't have no problem with it. They knew we wasn't together. We wasn't married. They calling me first lady. They asking us to come up here and pray together and let's hold hands. And this is why. And this girl that used to sit in the front row would always turn around. Oh, you so pretty. You XYZ. Oh, you XYZ. And this was the whole girl that was cheating with him the whole time. Okay. And so what was I doing? Oh, I'm gonna show up more so they see my face so they can't cheat with him. Baby, it was a whole fool acting a fool. Okay. And so it wasn't until I had to open my eyes and God had to sit me down. And I said, you know what, God, I'm not going to continue to give him all of these wifely duties. And I'm playing house. And at the same time playing church. I said, God, I want to be a real boy. Okay. I want to be real. I want this. This has to change. And it wasn't even, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. It wasn't even so churchy. I didn't have the church words to form into my mouth. I literally just had to say, God, come help me. I couldn't even, sometimes it's like, we can't even pull the biblical words out. Sometimes, listen, y'all watching this. When you are praying, sometimes it's just you talking to God and he hears you. Sometimes you do not have to be so churchy. Sometimes you ain't got to pull it out of the words that you just don't even have. God help me. because I don't know what I'm doing right now. God, remove this. God, do what you got to do to get me out of this situation so I can be better for you. And then literally the only words that I can bring in, God, I'm not willing to compromise no more. I don't want to compromise. I give up. And once I put my hands up and say, God, I surrender. I am done. I hear you. I see you. I have no more. I literally have no more to give. Then God started turning things around. He made provision for me to walk out of that relationship with no kids, no debt. I was able to move into a whole place by myself. And then after I did that, promotions came. I was making more money that I couldn't understand why we was living together and we was broke. We never had no money. How we broke and we had a 2-income house? How is that happening? Baby, I was making more money than I did when I was living with him. There were things that were just happening. And God said, I was waiting for you to turn around. I was waiting for you to stop playing house and come into this church house and be who I called you to be.
Yeah.
And so I would say that living together, I have made a vow to God. Baby, you can't get me into a man's house at this point. That's why I said no date night. I'm not coming to your home. I'm not leaving no toothbrushes. I'm not leaving no shorts. You can't even, you left a shoe at my house. Can you come get your flip-flop? Because it can't stay down off in this house. Okay? I am not doing anything that is going to compromise what God has brought me out of. Because how dare I turn my back on the blessing that you gave me? How dare I turn my back on the very thing I begged you for in my prayers? The very thing I laid my face on. I remember being at our house in our bedroom, laying on my floor on my face after work, crying out to God for like 3 hours, just laying and crying on my face. That man came home and said, "Why is makeup on that floor?" And I said, "Because I was praying for a change in our relationship." And he was like, "Oh, okay," and walked away. Like, oh, okay, that's it. Like, it was that simple for me. So right now, it is as simple as I'm never auditioning again. Because, baby, you're not the director or the producer, baby. I know who wrote this story. Okay. Yeah. God is not the author of confusion. Okay. He doesn't do that. And he ain't the writer of the end of whatever that man thought he was going to be with me or to me. So whoever's little nappy headed son think they're going to marry me now, they got to know that we're not staying together, baby. I had to have been down the aisle, like Alice said. My mama and my daddy got to be right there. It's a I do, and then a house waiting for us afterwards, because I'm not willing to settle for anything else. I'm not doing it.
That's so good. It reminds me, there's a song, and I want to say thank you for sharing that, because I think it helps so many people. I'm sitting here like, oh, I see myself in some of these parts of the story. It reminded me of, I wanted to bring 2 things that you set out. There's a song by Phil Thompson, and it talks about, you have rescued my life and I'm never going back. My response is hallelujah. And I think what you're hearing is God can redeem any relationship.
Absolutely.
He may not bring you back your partner, but he will bring you back a new version of yourself.
Yes, that's good.
Don't discount any experience that you've ever gone through. If you see yourself in any of us tonight, understand that the glory of God can bring you to the place he wants you to be at. And I don't care what has happened to you. I don't care who has left you. I want to tell you tonight, you will be okay.
Absolutely.
About how even in the midst of her going through all that, she cried out to God on her faith. Yeah, come on. And let me tell you something, God heard her cries. And so God is listening to you tonight, and he wants you to tell him how you feel. And so I want to say thank you for sharing your testimony, because I think it's going to help people. It's going to encourage them. It's going to inspire them. But hopefully, baby, it's going to tell you, don't sign that contract to live with.
Don't sign that
contract. No.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
And so thank you.
Yeah. Morgan, would you like to say anything before we end it?
No, I think that Karicia said it out. I think that ultimately, I love how Alice ended that. Overall, God will restore your relationship, whether it be with yourself or whether it be with whoever it is. God will restore a relationship, and the relationship that will bring him closer to him. And I think that that's important, that we recognize that in all of this, God is trying to bring you closer to him. In this relationship, in the intimacy that he has.
So just remember, we ain't auditioning for no roles, y'all. You ain't got to audition. Be who you are.
God has already called you a wife. He's already called you wife.
You ain't auditioning.
That's it. You don't need nobody to make you feel that you have to audition.
That's right.
Audition for the part. You already got it.
You already got it. You already
Yeah.
called it. That's good. Karicia, your testimony is amazing.
Thank
I mean,
you.
I've heard it before, but just hearing it tonight again, it's going to help so many people. It has already helped so many people, and it's going to continue throughout generations, throughout the nations. It's going to help people see dating in a whole new light. And as you
Thank
were
you.
talking, and I'm gonna end after this because we're respecting time, but you were talking about something, and what I heard was sow on good ground. And a lot of times we hear sow on good ground, and we hear, okay, our tithes, our offerings. But I feel like that's with your relationship. So on good ground, so love on good ground, so commitment on good ground,
Yes.
whatever it is that you're expecting, so on good ground so that you can see that harvest. If you're wanting a healthy, successful marriage, you have to sow it on good ground. And that ground is the Lord Jesus Christ. Have Christ at the center of your relationship, and you're going to the real Holy Spirit, the real God,
Yeah.
not everybody trying to call on, okay?
Yeah.
But for real, have Christ at the center of your relationship, and you're going to see that harvest. You're going to see it bloom and flourish, and it's going to be everything that God intended for it to be. Now, friends, we were supposed to get to some fashion questions, but at this point, we've decided we're going to do a part 3, okay?
Yeah. I
So,
love it.
so stay tuned for Girl Talk Part 3. It's going to be amazing, and we're going to talk about fashion. We love you all so much. Look at me. We love you all so much, and we are always grateful for you guys tuning in and staying the whole episode. We love y'all so much. Anybody want to say anything before we end?
I love y'all. Thank y'all for allowing me to share and
Love
be
you,
transparent.
friends.
They are new
Love
friends,
y'all.
y'all. This one they family.
They
I'm all
family.
Okay.
These are girls. Find you some girls for real.
These are girls.
Yes. Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Chosen for his people to forgive. You have to learn the art of forgiveness now.
You're looking for one thing, and God is like, I'm going to do that even better. I'm going to do that even bigger.
God is going to fight and move and make miracles happen on your behalf.
And this is not a time that we playing. We're not finna play church. We're not finna play this bubblegum gospel. We're gonna tell it like it is.